Hello, in my first series on why students fail examinations, I talked about the pre-examination factors, point of examination factors, and post-examination factors. I dealt extensively on the pre-examination factors, which includes poor preparation, perennial procrastination, perpetual distraction, and pervasive pessimism. Today, I'm going to talk about point of examination factors. Now, what are those factors that affect performance during the examination? Actually, by point of examination, I mean the period of the examination. The period you start writing your exams and so on. And the following factors are responsible. I want to start with one, anxiety. Anxiety is a feeling of fear or apprehension about what is to come. Anxiety results from fear of failure, previous failure, or unpreparedness. Now, anxiety, a little anxiety during the examinations is necessary. An English adage says that a little anxiety before the exam is important because you don't even know who is setting the question, and if you know who, you will know which question is going to be set. So that little anxiety, of course, is there to pep you up, to be able to prepare adequately so that you will not miss the point in the exam. Now, I talked about previous failures being a factor. Previous failures have a tendency of depressing your confidence of passing another examination. There was a time we were considering students' results, and there were some candidates that carried over courses, and each time they took the courses, their grades go progressively downwards. From 33, they come back to 28 or 29. They get down as low as 20. So at the end of the day, you discover that each time they try to retake the same exams, they keep on going down. That means the fear of the previous failure is hindering them from preparing adequately for the next paper. So it is very important that the previous failure should not be allowed to block your preparation for the next examinations. You know that. Because circumstances for each examination is different, and the questions might not be the same. So the effect might not be the same as well. So unpreparedness have been discussed already. Poor preparation, we said, precedes poor performance. Now, stress is the second factor. Stress could result, of course, from anxiety I mentioned earlier. It will cause a student to study without resting. I remember during our undergraduate days, we had somebody in physics. She prepared so much for the physics exam that for 3 days, she was afraid. She prepared for 3 days, she couldn't sleep. Now, by the time she got into the examination hall, the brain, let me just use the word, just blocked, hanged. She couldn't read anything. She couldn't think of anything. She couldn't write anything. At the end of the day, the invigilator went and bought milk for her. And when she drank the milk, she just slept off. And that was how she had to retake the paper. Eventually, of course, when you retake paper in those days, you can't score more than an E. So what she had prepared for, with all her mind, and then losing sleep over, eventually she couldn't pass that paper. So it's very important that you don't allow the stress or the fear of the exam to cause you to now start reading without rest until you break down during the exams. During the exams, you see many students, they rush them to the clinic, some collapse in the exams, they move them to the hospital and all that. This does not help. So it is very important that during the examinations, you put yourself in a relaxed mood. And that is why proper preparation prior to the examination period is very, very important. I also remember the story of a man who during his undergraduate days, he read so much, it was an afternoon paper, and he went to his room and slept and told his roommate, please, when you are going, wake me up. But when the roommate was going, he forgot to wake him up. And he woke up when the exams were about finishing. In fact, he ran with his towel to the examination venue. Unfortunately, he missed the exam. So what's the point of preparing so much and then missing at the end of the day? That is why during the exams, it's good to be relaxed. It's good to prepare. I will keep referring to proper preparation because most of the other things that happen, they are anchored on your preparation. Your disposition during the examination, all that is anchored on your preparation. Now, the next is misconduct tendencies. Now, this is a recipe for failure. When your mind is set on cheating in the examination hall, you will lose all the drive to study. Why should you study when you can just copy it on a piece of paper and take it in? So you have the mind to take cheat notes into the examination hall. You will spend all your time practicing and planning how to get chokes into the hall. You may even want to get your hands on the question paper before the examinations. And if this is not possible, you will want to guess where the questions will likely come out, and then you will try to jot some things on it. This has led to the failure of many students today. And the situation is getting worse by the day. And I want to tell you this. There is nothing in the papers that you cannot handle. Nothing, absolutely nothing. As I told you earlier in my first video, I told you that anything that is written down on paper is fixed. It doesn't change. Pythagoras theorem remains the same. Charles' law remains the same. Ideal gas equation remains the same. Even the period of colonialism, for those in the arts, we are talking of the history of colonialism in Nigeria or colonialism all over the world during the imperial reign of Great Britain. It is the same story that's been told over and over. These stories do not change. Then why? Can you not just sit down, take time, practice, and perform? The next is poor examination skills. The wise man Solomon states that the labor of the foolish wearies every one of them because he knoweth not how to go to the city. And how many people do not know how to write exams? There are many students who have the content. I remember when we were in the School of Basic Studies, I had a mate that will always teach us he knows so much about the subject. But the problem is that he failed the exams. Why? With so much content and yet could not pass the exams. So many people, we have the information, but how to articulate them in the exam hall to score marks is difficult. Certain careless mistakes also cause a lot of damage to performance in the examination. So I will take you through the process from the moment you enter the examination hall and how to write examinations. My emphasis here will be on essay examinations. And I will take time later to talk on the different methods of examination. The next is the period of examination. Do much of your study before the period sets in. As soon as the examination starts, read more sparingly, concentrate on consolidating what you have learned. Spend more time reflecting and planning how to tackle the examination questions. Take time to sleep well. Your brain will benefit more from good sleep than staying awake all night to study during the examinations. There are even some people, coffee becomes their mate during the exam because they will be drinking coffee. I also remember in my secondary school, in those days, in the middle of the night during the exams, you see somebody shouting, whoa, whoa, whoa. And why? Because he had taken so much coffee, he could not sleep and he could not read. So that's why it's important. Sleep well, eat good food, and engage in bodily exercise to keep your energy levels up. When I was a student also, I felt more relaxed during examinations than during the time. I spent more time reading during the time. Keep your social activities at the barest minimum, but keep your spiritual activities at a reasonable level. The motto is work and worship. Make sure your registration requirements are fulfilled. Keep all your documents ready and handy. A lot of students will be running up and down during examinations just to either rectify a missing document, get a temporary note to write the exams and so on. And when you have a missing document and you're running up and down, you could get yourself befuddled that your performance will be affected. So make sure that before the exam day, everything is ready. Now, on the examination day, the period before, during the examination is very, very important. On the morning of the examinations, it is important to stop all reading and studying at least 1 hour before the paper. This is to allow you prepare your mind and relieve the usual anxiety that comes with approaching an examination. Calm yourself by friendly chat with classmates or by taking time to meditate. Be at the examination hall at least 30 minutes to the paper. Going late to examination can cause you to become disoriented for the rest of the day. Do not go to the examination venue with a phone or any sensitive material. Remove all pieces of paper from your pocket to avoid accidentally taking cheat notes into the hall, which might lead to your expulsion from the system. Identify and avoid potential trouble spots in the hall. There are potential trouble spots. There are people who sit somewhere, all they are interested in, they want to cheat. If you sit close to them, they might get you into trouble. So don't sit close to them. And be sure you have your writing materials and all required items for the examination. It is a distraction to you and to others to borrow pen, borrow calculator and all that in the hall of writing. As a rule, make sure you have 2 pens in case one fails. It is better to go into the examination hall with half-used pens than a new one, particularly if you are from areas where fake pens arrive. You buy a new pen, you want to write, the thing seizes, and then you are disoriented. When you are checked into the exam hall, if you have a choice, pick a conspicuous seat close to the front. This will keep you out of a lot of trouble. You could get into trouble by sitting close to the wrong person. The answer booklets naturally will come first, then the question papers. So it is better to listen to the instruction of the invigilator and avoid any infractions in the hall. Always read the instructions on the answer booklets and the question papers. Do not take it for granted that you know what to do. There was a day I was invigilating and I was giving the students reading instruction. Please write your name, write your number, write your identification. Make sure you don't miss out. Write on every page and so on. And then they just said, sir, please, let's go straight to the paper. You are wasting our time. We have been writing exams for years. Okay. After that exam, I was the examiner. I marked the exam and the student had 75%, but there was no identification on that paper. And that's how he lost. He got 0. Because there's no way you can trace, when you have about 800 students, 300 students, how do you trace somebody who did not write the name? Even if you could trace it, how do you prove that the thing belongs to him? So at the end of the day, he or she lost the 75 marks just like that because of not writing the number, not identifying himself or herself on the answer booklet. Now we come to the point of writing. You are starting the examination, you are starting to write the paper. Settle down. Take the first 10 to 15 minutes to pray and plan your answers. Depending on the credit you need, there is time allotted for your answers, for each question. In our days, it was 3 hours paper straight. We call it Almighty June. But now we have the semester system. You could have 1 credit unit, 2 credit units, or 3 credit unit courses. The timing of the examination depends on the credit unit. But usually, each question in an essay exam is supposed to be for about 45 minutes. Use at least 5 minutes from each question for your prayer and planning. After praying, take time to go through all the questions. This is important. Don't just jump at the first question that you see. I've seen students who, on entering the examination, or they saw the first question was very interesting, they start writing. After writing for about 30 minutes, they discover that we're answering the questions wrongly. And then they have to cancel it. When you cancel a question like that, actually you have canceled 30 minutes from your time. And you are now going to use the balance of the time to now write the 3 or 4 or 2 questions as the case may be. But you have lost 30 minutes in the examination hall. Before you start writing, make sure you write your examination number legibly and correctly on the answer booklet. There are a lot of students, they write their exam number and you are wondering whether it is 7 or 1. All those things should be avoided. Write legibly, write correctly, and write on every page. So that if your script gets lost or some of the pages got torn and removed, they could be brought together. But if you wrote only on the first cover and then they is torn and some of them fly off, it will be difficult to bring them back to integrate the various components of the exam booklet. So it is always better for you to write on every page. And this accounts for failure most of the time. You know you wrote very well, but you are getting low scores. Sometimes your scripts could not be traced. Components of your scripts could not be traced. So the examiner will just score what he can see. Now after you have done, you've written your number on every page, and you are told to start. Now what do? The first thing to do is to go through all the questions. Go through all of them. Don't start writing until you have assessed the questions, all, not the ones you may answer. In fact, the total question on the question paper should be assessed by you. Assess it properly. Write out the points for each of the questions. And all this should be written in your answer booklet. Do not attempt to write anything on your question paper. Because if you do so, you might be accused of misconduct or that you are passing points. But if you write it in your answer booklet, then it is your own. And after jotting the points for all the questions, you can now pick the required number of questions. Now you need to write on your answer booklet for the following reasons. I told you, don't write on the question paper, but on the answer booklet. And why? Because number one, the points will help you to organize your answers in a logical and coherent manner. It will aid your recollection of the main content of the subject. It will help your speed when you start writing, because pausing and thinking reduces your performance. It will be difficult for you to be accused of examination misconduct or passing cheat notes or cheat points during the exam. The lecturer also, in examining your answers, will go through those points and may be influenced positively towards you, particularly if the points are correct. He will know that you understand the subject matter. Now, this may surprise you, but in a school where lecturers or a lecturer had to deal with a large number of students, sometimes more than 500 students, 800 students, sitting for an essay examination, and the teacher is under a tight deadline, schedule, to submit scores, he may be forced to rely on your points to award marks. It makes marking easier for the examiner. I'm telling you. If you jot down and the examiner just look at your jottings, first question, he saw the jotting, and it's as written on the marking scheme, I'm telling you, he will just score that one and just go glance through the other ones, and you make it easy for him. Then when you have done with your jottings, how do you pick the questions you intend to attend? Arrange your questions based on the points you have jotted. Start with the one with fewer points and put the one with more points last. You will keep writing the bulkier one till you hear 5 minutes more. Then you round off and then review and submit. Before you start writing, allot time equally to each of the questions chosen. Distribute your time equally among the questions unless otherwise instructed, because all questions carry equal marks. I'm familiar with students as an examiner spending so much time. Question 1, they will write so much that there's no time left for questions 2 and 3 or the other questions. They are then left with less than sometimes they spend, let's say, about an hour, 30 minutes on one question because they love the question, they are writing, they are enjoying themselves, and then at the end they have less than 1 hour to write the remaining 2 questions. Now, what type of result are you going to get? The result pattern will be skewed. The student may have just 15 marks out of 20 marks for first questions, 8 marks for the second question, and then 3 marks for the third question, giving a total of 28 marks out of 60. If you divided your time equally you may have this scoring pattern, 14, 16, 12. That gives you 42 out of 60, or even better. So when you have allotted time, make sure that you distribute it equally. Now, take note that you have taken about 10 to 15 minutes from the time. So whatever time you are going to divide now will be the balance of the time. Take your time and do that. And when you have done that, you can now start writing. Make sure you do not exceed the time given to any question. If you could not finish the question within the time, leave a few pages of the answer booklet and move to the next question. Don't be tempted to dwell on any question beyond the allotted time. In fact, you may not even bother to leave space because you are allowed in the examination hall to write on any page as long as you can identify the number, question, and so on. I told you again, all questions carry equal marks except otherwise instructed. So share the time equally. You may get time in the next question and then you can come back and use the time to conclude the first question. Your concluding question after you have written the first, second one based on the points you jotted, your concluding question should be the one you can dwell on until the last minutes of the time for the whole paper. And when you finish, take time to review your answers. Review helps you to dot the I's and cross the T's. You may also discover certain gaps which you may feel. Don't be in a hurry to rush out. There's no mark for the earliest to submit. There's no score for the first to submit. Spend your time fully. No invigilator has a right to cut your time, even if you are the only one for the next 30 minutes. As long as the time allocated for that paper is not ended, continue writing. There's nothing like, hey, what are you sitting here for? The others have finished and gone. Submit and go. No, you have a right to use up your time. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section below. If you would love to remain anonymous, you can click on the link in the description to send me a personal message on WhatsApp. If you have been inspired, please like, share with your friends, family, children, and colleagues. And do not forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell to be the first to be notified about my next video. Thank you very much.